Welcome to the Valve Studio. My journey to ToneHenge continues this week. At least I got all these side projects down for my WorkBee controller. Let's go ahead and summarize what I got finished. All right, I'm over at onshape.com and I've got Hyatt WorkBee-screw drawing open. If you want to play around with this, you're welcome to copy this design. This is a 3D CAD model that's provided by OpenBuilds. And I got a couple things that I built up here. First thing is on the back side. Let me get this little perspective here. On the back side, I'm using a drag chain that's a bit wider than this one that's in the CAD drawing, so I needed another X gantry drag chain mount, so I 3D printed this guy. And I offset it enough. This drag chain still rides along this extra support member here, but it also holds my USB 4-port up here. It kind of crimps it in. It does a pressure fit in with the X gantry. Down here I have a 12-position terminal strip, and it is so wide that these mounting holes don't actually hit the gantry where I want it to. And also I'll have a collision if I actually were to mount this directly to this back plate. I won't be able to get any ferrule connected wires up in there because I'll have a collision with this mounting bracket. So I printed a little offset bracket here, this guy, and this guy attaches to the gantry with 2 sets of screws, and then the terminal strip here mounts to my mount plate there. So that's I have those parts all made, and they're actually on my machine now. Then over here, this is where my moving display is going to move, and this is the bezel that I printed around the 3.5-inch Nextion display. And then I needed a way to mount that to here, so I 3D printed this big plate here, and I think I made it 5 millimeters thick, so it's actually pretty stout. We'll have to see how that works. And then after I printed everything and got it all looking right, I realized I may have a collision from here, the bottom of this, over to this edge over here. But I can actually measure what that distance is, so if I click on that surface, I come and click on that plane, and then I come down here and click on the bottom of my mounting plate, which is that plane right there. I'll see that my parallel distance is 4 millimeters. So if we actually look at the right side of this and we zoom in on this thing, you can see I have about 4 millimeters of clearance here. So the way this attaches, this part comes off. This is a removable piece, so if I want to actually do something with the display, I don't actually have to remove the gantry. I have some screws in from the outside to hold together. And then I 3D printed a retaining nut holder on these tabs in here. So if I were to hide this thing, oops, that's a whole assembly. Well, forget it. I'll show you that on the real part. Let's move over to the bench and I'll show you that. All right, here's my 3D printed part for my bezel. This is the bezel, and this is the mounting plate that's going to fit on my X gantry. And again, it uses the Nextion display. And then we can go and put this up. I don't have the retaining screws in here yet, but I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like. So inside of here, there's a M3 retaining nut. I have 2 of them in there. I don't think I'll need 4. This fits in really nicely. I got this model off of GrabCAD, but it was wrong, so I had to tweak it a lot. It's just being held in with M3 screws. And then I had to make a little relief over here to get these wires to come out. All right, so this fits on pretty well, and I got a really good mate here. This 3D printed part actually, when it cooled, it kind of tweaked a little bit in the wrong direction, so I heated it up with my hot air reworkstation and kind of bent it back. All right, let's turn this thing on. I'll show you, go and talk about its display action here. All right, so this is running my baby step that's called Nextion. If I get up here, the camera will do auto exposure on this display here. This line up here will be what the Gerbil will send an update line to this field, and that will be like basically the line it's executing. Down here I have a status field, and I have my feed rate. So status will be like idle, run, holding, and as well as alarm. And my override rate up is here in a percentage from 0 to 200%. These buttons down here, this top one toggles between G1 and G2. I mean G0 and G1. So G1's linear, and G0 is rapid. This one goes between absolute and relative for G90 to G91. Coordinate systems allows me to pick, 54 to 57. I don't need to do 58 and 59. This guy down here is G20 and G21, which alternates between millimeters and inches. Coolant, in the CNC world, the coolant means you're going to blow some coolant on your part. But in my case, I'm going to blow compressed air to blow the chips out. And then I can turn the spindle on and off with this button. So these are touchscreen buttons. This is a resistive display, so it's a little hard to press those, but it keeps you from having to type something in. All this functionality will also be over on the touch buttons as well, over on the console. This font here is 80-point font, and this is the fastest refresh rate I can get on this Nextion display. It's not limited by the serial rate over here, because I can definitely put a lot more data over here. But the way that the Nextion software, it has to parse the incoming line, then it has to render a off-screen bitmap, then it probably copies that entire bitmap over onto the display, and it's not doing that operation very fast. So this is as fast as you can run it. It's a 5 hertz rate. And if we look back here at the LED blinks every time it tries to send a refresh out. You can disable the screen, do all your writes, and then turn it back on again, and it'll do one operation. All this code is in a baby step directory called Nextion. Here's some of my 3D printed parts that I put onto my X gantry. So here's that drag chain mount. This is my wide drag chain. Here's that 12 position terminal strip. Here's that spacer that's right here. And if you look in here, I won't have a collision for the wires that are coming down. I won't bang into this thing. They'll physically clear that. And then here's my 4-port USB hub sitting up here, and it's actually pretty secure with just the pressure fit of this actually screwed in. Over on this side, I'll have that moving display. Okay, that's the last component to my controller. I now have a graphical display that sits on my X gantry. I have an LCD display that sits above the jog wheel. I have a jog wheel. I have a feed override. I have a bunch of push buttons. I have push button indication. I have all the cycle start, feed hold, reset, as well as a e-stop. I have the wiring harness done. Everything's finished. The port's done. I just got to meld it all together software-wise to get it all to work. But next time, I'm going to be out in the wood shop. I'm going to finish the assembly on my Workbee 1010, and I'm going to get this thing functional, and hopefully we'll get to show that next time. All right, thanks for watching. This is the Valve Studio. How did I do on the time? Bye-bye.